All right, here we go. Our first ever coffee chat. Ask me anything about the music industry. Why are we doing this? One, it's summer, and two, I'm not teaching this summer, and three, we are doing some cool things over at the Making It Academy, and teaching is what I love to do. So I figured over the summer, let's do these weekly hangs. Maybe we'll see how this first one goes, and maybe we'll do this every week. But just answering questions about the music industry. So feel free to drop any questions in the chat, whether you're on LinkedIn or YouTube, and we'll answer them there. And I guess quick about me, for those that don't know about me, I hate giving my backstory, but I'll do the hopefully 30-second version of it. But I've been a town buyer and content promoter for 17, 18 years and worked for some big companies, Lab Nation, AEG. And today I'm an artist manager working with artists and managing artists. And also teaching is my passion, right? Which is why I'm doing this. So I love teaching. I used to teach at UCF in Orlando, did a lot of crazy events with my students. And yeah, now we're teaching through the Making It Academy and through this YouTube channel. So here we go. Let's get into some questions. So I'm going to go dive into some most common questions that I get, right? So you're in college, right? You're in college and you're trying to get experience. So where do you begin when you're in college and trying to get experience? So for starters, you should intern, right? I mean, that's sounds pretty basic, but like intern every single semester. Like don't wait till your junior year, don't wait till your senior year. Start interning immediately, like right from as early as you can. Like if you can start interning in your freshman year, like if you don't pick your classes right away, right? I know some colleges will pick your classes for you. If you can change that and again immediately intern for college credit, obviously ideally because most companies prefer that. But try to intern as early as you can, right? As early as possible. I know for some people it's a little harder because you need a paid internship. There is more and more paid internships now in the music industry, but of course there's still a bunch of internships, especially for smaller companies that may or may not be paid, right? But if you start getting experience early on with internships, the more you go, right? If you start, like I've had students that start interning in sophomore year and they're like their first semester of sophomore year, right in the fall. And by the time they're seniors, they've had 4 or 5 internships and they're probably working full time, right? So some of my students, when I was at UCF, like 80%, oh, not 80%, that's high, but it was 70%. It was a high percentage. Like 70% of the class was already working in the industry in their senior year. Or previously, it was only 20% of students were already working in the industry. So besides internships, what else can you do, right? So let's say you do have to work a job while you're in college. What else can you do? So for starters, realize the most common jobs and the most opportunities in the industry these days are in marketing, finance, and anything content creation, right? Content capturing, whether it's photo, video, or content editing. So get experience there, whatever you're more passionate about, right? So while you're in class, either learn more about marketing and especially digital marketing, how to run ads on Meta, how to run ads on Google, how to run ads on TikTok. All those things are super valuable. Or you're more into the numbers and the finance, then learn as much as you can about finance and spreadsheets and how to create spreadsheets and budgets, inventories for merch, right? Go there or go into the content world. And most internships these days, back in the day when you were getting an internship, it was the whole get me a coffee and the more admin work. Being in marketing, like a marketing coordinator or in the content world, that is the new internship these days, right? So a lot of companies are looking for that. So learn how to use a camera, learn how to use video, right? And start with your phones. Learn how to create content with your phones. Another hack that I love teaching students about and how to get experience: start a podcast. Honestly, like if you want to learn about the music industry, whatever you want to learn about, start a podcast while you're in college, because when you're in college, that's your best excuse ever to contact people in the industry, right? And the best excuse to build a network in the industry. And why should you start a podcast, or why should I start a podcast about music industry when there's already so many out there? Because nobody's ever done it in your voice, with your perspective, with your curiosity, and with your style of storytelling, right? And again, when you're in college, it's going to open up so many doors faster. Your excuse can be you reach out to someone in the music industry. You can say, hey, I'm in college, I'm learning about the industry. I'm doing a podcast for a class project, and just tell them it's a class project, right? For a class project. and I'm interviewing people this semester about artist management, and you're only reaching out to artist managers or tour management or talent agencies or touring, pick a niche each semester, right? And interview people in that world. Now you're learning from real experts in the industry because you're asking good questions and you're building your network, right? So just make sure you follow up and stay connected with these people. What else should you do while you're in college? Work events. Work as many events as possible. Any event experience is experience running an event, right? Most students want to be in touring. They want to be tour managers. They want to work for venues. So work events as many as you can. It doesn't matter if it's not concerts to start. Maybe you're working all the local 5Ks. Maybe you're working the local festivals or dog shows, or like the local food festivals or wine festivals or the dog shows, whatever, any kind of community events. Get started working events and then use that to work your way into working any concerts possible. Look up all your venues in your hometown, reach out to those venues, make sure all those venues know who you are. One of the ways they can get to know you is that's what I did when I was in college, because I was obsessed with live music. I would go as many shows as I could. There was 1 month in college, a friend of mine and I, we tried to go to as many shows a month as we possibly could, and we kept track of all the shows we went to. 1 month we went to 26 shows, right? And 26 shows as college kids. We're not going to see national acts where the tickets 20, 30 or more these days. We want to see local shows. We went to our local venues where tickets $5-10 or even free events. And we went and we met the bands, we met the people that run the venues. So go to as many shows as you can, then start working them, network with the bands. If you notice the bands don't have anybody standing there at their merch table selling merch while they're playing, offer them, hey, next time you play a gig, I'd love to help sell your merch. I'd love to help you set it up, organize it, sell it. I'll do it for tips. I'll do it for tips and 10%, right? Maybe ask for a commission like later on, get the experience, especially if you don't have experience yet. So to ask to help with merch. And then when you're there to help with merch, maybe you're going to get there load in. Ask, hey, can I help you load in? Like, can I help you load in your gear? A drummer is never going to say no to that because there's so many things and cases, right? So offer to help with load in, offer to help with merch. And then the benefits are not only are you now getting experience helping a local band, the venues are going to see you, right? You're going to venue reps. They're going to be there seeing you helping load in, seeing you work the merch table. And they're going to think, who is this person, right? Like they're helping load in, they're helping load out, they're setting up merch. Meet the venue people, say hello, I'm so-and-so, I'm helping this band with merch today. You might have to ask them for a merch table or for lighting, right? So interact with the venue when you're working the show. And then that's a great way to start, right? And that'll segue later into, unless anybody has questions. If anybody has questions, feel free to drop your questions in the chat and I'll answer those instead. But I have some questions I prompted, right? And then let me see. So help the locals and then create it, right? So the other thing you can do while you're in college, this is what I did. This is how I got started. I created it. So what that means is I produced local shows. The first one I did was a festival in college. So we booked a bunch of local bands. There's an event called Rock for Hunger. You can actually still Google it. There's still information about it out there. But Rock for Hunger was a local concert we did in college and raised money for local charities. And with this event, right, it was easy to book because I went to so many shows. I met all the local bands. So the first Rock for Hunger, we had 8 bands playing. It was in the student union. We had one of the ballrooms and put on a concert there to raise money for hunger and homelessness. And I got hooked after that. Like I started booking shows with those bands around town, started booking shows for them around the state of Florida. And that just led to booking one local show after another, which eventually led me to becoming the town buyer for the Plaza Theater, right? My first job. But I just created it out of thin air. And, speaking of creating it, you can manage a local band, right? If you start helping a local band with merch and helping with load in and all that, and you've already been experimenting with the content, right? Like learning how to create content, take some photos while they're playing. And now you can help them with content. Now you can help them with marketing. And all before you know, you're managing a local band, right? So these are ways to get in and get started when you're still in college or even when you're newly out of college. So that's the first question I prompted for today. Again, if anybody has any questions, feel free to just drop them in the chat, and I'd rather answer your questions than the ones I brought to the table. But let's see. The next one I prompted was what to do when you graduate and as you still don't have a job in the industry, right? And your student loans kick in and expenses kick in and you're leaving your college dorms and life gets real really fast, right? And you don't have experience yet. You were one of the ones that maybe didn't hear this, and you waited, right? You figured, let me get college done first, and and then now you got to pay bills, right? And now this happens so many times where people go to college. I mean, it's not just entertainment or music. It happens so many times where people go to college, they go to study something. They, unfortunately, for whatever reason, they maybe had to work while they're in college, right? Everyone's situation is different, but you don't have experience when you graduate. And, you know, the unfortunate thing is, just because you have a degree, it doesn't guarantee a job, which you know, makes it hard, especially when there's colleges like, you know, and that's one of the things I really tried to change when I was teaching is, you know, when you're looking out for, so I will answer that question, but if you're looking for college, or you're in college in your first or second year, and you're thinking, am I really going to learn this industry, right? Am I really going to learn and get experience and network? You should look for a school that provides real life experience, not just teaching from a book. If they bring in guest speakers, or at Berklee College of Music, they bring a lot of amazing speakers. That's great. But what we did is we made college students do real events, right? And that's kind of why I'm doing these coffee chats and leading up to the Making It Academy certification that we're launching. But the goal was to give them real life experience. Like, I made college students produce events locally. They had to book their bands, they had to book the venue, they had to do all the marketing, they had to do settlements, they had to do all the production writers, they had to do everything, like, in real life. Like, it wasn't hypothetical, right? Because if you're in college and let's say you're studying this industry and you're writing papers about it, or doing presentations, or doing hypothetical assignments, it's not going to lead to a job, right? Because it's some of those assignments, they're so like unrealistic. I've seen students wanting to do the next Coachella or next big music festivals with big lineups as those projects, and that wasn't real. And that's why I said, let's just do this for real, right? Let's just produce concerts in local venues. So going back to what to do when you just graduate and don't have experience yet, right? It's kind of going back to the things that I mentioned. So you probably can't intern, because most internships are going to be for college credit. But if you don't have experience yet, it's go work events, right? Go on your days off when you don't have work, go work an event every day off. It's going to be a lot, right? If you're working full time and you got to now go get experience, bare minimum 1 day a week, right? So bare minimum, find 1 day a week to work an event. Like, no excuses. This is an industry you really want to be in. You have to get experience. Like, the college degree alone is not going to be enough. So go work any event to start, right? And you might think, okay, I'm working the local 5K, right? How's that going to lead to anything? Well, if you work the local 5K this weekend, right, and then 3 months down the line, the time's going to pass anyway. So why not start this weekend and then work any kind of event that leads to working music-related events every week for the next 90 days, right, for the next 12 weeks. By week 12, who knows what kind of event you're working, right? We can't predict the future. We don't know what's going to happen. So just start today. Like, work any event you can. Go look up local community events and look at events that need volunteers, and just go volunteer at any event possible on your days off. And I will say, right, burnout is a real thing. Be mindful of what your capacity is, how much you can handle. Every person, needs at least some time off, and then time to relax, time to unplug from work and life. So definitely make that time, prioritize that time, because the worst thing you can do is start working events, showing up at events. You're burnt out, you're tired, and you're not putting any effort into that, right? So make sure to take care of yourself, right? For starters, I made that mistake when I first started right out of college. I would work as many events as possible, and I worked myself into getting panic attacks and anxiety attacks, and that I was dying. I was literally going to the hospital a few times because I didn't know what was happening until we discovered it was anxiety and panic attacks. But I was being overworked, like literally falling asleep with my laptop and waking up at 7, 6 in the morning, right, to go right back at it. So make sure you take care of yourself. But when you graduate, work as many events as you can, go help the locals. And then you may not be taking finance or marketing classes anymore since you've graduated. So learn about digital marketing and learn how to use a camera, right? And you learn how to take photos and record video with it. So that's what I would do if I had just graduated and don't have experience yet. So again, anybody have any questions, drop them in the chat. I'd rather answer your questions than my questions. But the next one I've prepared is most students want to be either tour managers, or work at a record label, right? So let's address that. So how do you become a tour manager? So most students that would ask that would be in a business program, right? So music business or entertainment business program. So we're probably not doing production, right? Production is a whole different path. Traditionally, what happens a lot is the person that becomes the tour manager is also the audio engineer, right? So, the sound person, right? And a lot of times the reason that happens is because a lot of times they're the first person on the team, on the touring team, because the band wants to sound good, right? The band wants to make sure the audience can hear the sound the way it's supposed to sound, and they can hear themselves on the monitors. And many times the audio engineer, because that's the only person on the road, picks up some of those other responsibilities. Now, what I'll say, every band, before I get into tour manager thing, and this is the path to tour manager, every band should have a merch manager on tour. If you're touring and you're selling merch, you should have someone helping with the merch. And if you can't afford them, if there's someone that's willing to get the experience, they can work for tips and they can work for a commission of your merch, right? So there's no risk there, right? I mean, besides feeding another person and finding a place to sleep for another person. But besides that, like if you're not paying a merch person like a flat rate every day, there's no extra expense. They're creating their own pay, right? So they're creating their own pay by accepting tips and by taking a commission off your merch. Maybe it's 10%, maybe it's 15%, right? So they'll take a commission, and that incentivizes them to sell more, right? To make you more money because they're working on commission and tips. That's the person that should work their way into becoming a tour manager, not the audio engineer. The audio engineer should probably work their way in becoming a production manager. So while you're that person that's selling the merch, what else can you do to work your way to become a tour manager, right? So other jobs you could work, right? And I guess that's another thing I should have said when your first jobs you can get when you first graduate. Box office. The box office, I always say, is the ultimate gateway into the live industry, right? If you can work in ticketing and sell tickets and learn how the different ticketing platforms work. If you're in college, you probably have a college arena or college theater or something, right, where tickets are being sold. Try to work there in the box office, learn how to sell tickets, learn how the platforms work. And then every ticketing platform has what's called a ticket audit, right? Learn how to read those ticket audits, because a tour manager is going to need to know how to read those audits, right? A lot of times when it's the audio engineer, they're so focused on audio and production that they kind of quickly brush over the audit portion, learning how to read the audit. They kind of just take the paperwork and like, all right, cool, thanks, it's my settlement. And they send it to the manager and let the manager deal with it, right? So learn how to read the audit, learn how that ticketing process works. And then the next thing you should learn is settlements. I do have some videos, if you go to the YouTube channel and look at any of the settlement videos, that will teach you how to settle shows. And those are some of the two main things you're going to need to know, right? So like, what's the day of life of a tour manager look like? They're going to arrive most of the times when the artist arrives. The production crew is going to arrive earlier, and depending, it doesn't matter if it's club to arena level, right? So a lot of times the tour manager will arrive with the artist. So that may mean they may not arrive right at load-in. They're going to arrive a little bit later, or they'll arrive right before the artist arrives, right? But the tour manager is basically advancing all the shows, talking to all the venues in advance, going over all the logistics for the day, right? Depending what level you're at. Higher levels, you're going to have multiple people on tour. There's multiple touch points. But from club level, like small clubs, 200 to 300 person, probably all the way until small theaters, so like 1,500 capacity theaters. The tour manager is probably advancing everything, right? So they're going over all the logistics. Where do we park? What is the load-in situation like? This is how many stagehands we need. This is what we want to eat. Here's our writer. Here's our production needs. They're going to turn, so day of, they're going to turn in the guest list, right? So that's an important role. So if you're a merch manager and there's no tour manager yet, or you're selling merch, you're a merch assistant, one of the ways you can help the band is get everyone's guest list, right? And write the guest list down. Even better, type it up right on a laptop on a sheet and send that sheet to the venue. So now what you could ask, this is how you can get contacts. Ask the venue rep for their email and say, yeah, you can email them the guest list, right? So, and they'll give that to you. So now you have their email. So another way to stay connected and network. And then you email them the guest list, right? And you probably want to turn the guest list in maybe an hour before doors, or at least on a smaller club level, like at least 30 minutes before doors, right? You want to make sure that's turned in before doors open, right? So get the guest list turned in, and then again learn the settlement process, because like then while the show's happening, the tour manager's probably dealing with merch there or helping the merch. If there's any kind of VIP experiences, the tour manager's helping with that. And then at the end of the night, when it's all said and done, they're going to go settle the show with the venue, right? And the thing about settlements, I mean, really learn settlements. One of the tours I did last year with Cowboy Bebop, I challenged one of the settlements, right, and actually looked at the entire settlement. And the rep from AEG said, "I haven't had anyone read the settlement and look at every line item in quite a while," right? Which is surprising, which shows you that most tour managers, who knows how they became tour managers, right? But most tour managers are not looking at the settlement. And if you're the one that knows how to read a settlement and look at the backups to a settlement, right? You know how to look at a stagehand bill, you know how to look at a production bill, you know how to look at a catering bill. If you know how to read through every single line item and the backups to those things, or ask for them, right? If you have a catering bill and it says, I don't know, or a hospitality bill and it says $450 was spent on hospitality, you're gonna say, on what, right? Give me the receipts, give me the backup. So that's one of the things you would do in the settlement process, right? But what's next after even tour management, right? If you're really good at settlement, you can become a tour accountant, right? And a tour accountant, a lot of times they might work from home, right? So you can be on tour, or you can even work from home and settle shows remotely and make a really good living. Like as a tour accountant, you're doing really well. And that's like the next path beyond tour manager, right? So if you're a really good tour manager and you've been doing it for 10, 15 years and you're like, okay, I want to be home and have a family now. If you're really great at settlement and doing the money and the accounting stuff, and then also, what you can also help do in a small level as a tour manager, start doing the tour budgets, learning how the budgeting works and all the logistics. Because then when you're a tour account and you're creating tour budgets and you're able to settle a show, that's how you become a tour accountant, right? Let's see, maybe I have a question. What's going on? Thanks for joining live. Anybody has a question, right? I have a few questions that I prompted, but anybody has a question, feel free to share. All right, but until then, I'll just keep answering the ones I've created. So that's how to become a tour manager. How to become a manager? There's a really great book. Is it behind me? I don't know. There's a book by Ari Herstand. Ari Herstand is the author, and it's How to Make It in the New Music Business. So go check that out. If it's written by an artist for artists, right? It's like anything the DIY artists should be doing to set up their business, promote their business, build their brand, start touring, start releasing music. And if you're an aspiring manager, you should read that and learn how to do everything in that book, right? For starters. The other thing is, yes, you could pick up a local band today, right? If you have a band that's your friends, you have a band that you could work with them today and become their quote unquote manager, right? And start working with them. Or you could try to work for a management company, right? So I like working for a company first. Yes, so I started the other way. I managed bands without experience, right? So I started managing bands without experience. I got that book, helped me a lot, and just started working with bands. But it wasn't until I worked with a mentor and actually the management company I work for now, or even when I was a town buyer, right? It wasn't until I worked for Live Nation where the experience level exploded fast, right? And it doesn't have to be forever, right? If you're more entrepreneurial minded as a manager, you're gonna have to be entrepreneur minded for starters. So if you're not, don't have the gut to take risk and willing to work on commission and live on commission, being a manager is really hard, right? But if that does inspire you and you do want to build an artist from the ground up, then you can either start managing a local band today, get that book, learn as much as you can, apply it, learn how to deal with the artist, learn how to deal with the artist personality, or go work for a manager first, right? Because you're going to learn a lot of things really fast. Or you can do both, right? Kind of my path. Start first, then go get the more experience, and then go back again and do it better because of the experience you got. So any questions just came in. All right, here we go. We got a question. All right. Based in India, you want to get into organizing metal festivals here. I don't have any money saved up. How much should I save before I start? right? So I'm gonna talk about like American currencies, right? Since I don't know what the currency exchanges in India, but if you wanna, let me see, and say I want to host it at 1,000 cap venue. All right, cool. So we want to do a festival or an event at a 1,000 cap venue. That makes it a lot easier to work with. So let's start here, right? So what kind of expenses or are you okay? Dollars are fine, cool. And then what kind of expenses are you going to have, right? So if you're going to do a show at a 1,000 cap venue, here's going to be your main expenses. You're going to have rent, right, for the venue. The rent may or may not include everything, right? But if it doesn't, there might be a rental fee. You're going to have security. I'm kind of writing it down as I go. So I think so. I'm say the same thing twice. You have security. You're going to have box office. You're going to have production. Those are going to be your main line item expenses on the venue side. Then on your side, right, dealing with the artist, you're going to have the artist payment. You're going to have hospitality. You're going to have, if it's a 1,000 cap venue and you have multiple bands, you need help, right? You might have a runner to help you. Those are your and marketing. That's a big one. And marketing. Those are your big ones, right? Let's just say if I were to start putting some numbers on this, right? Let's say you have a 1,000 cap venue. Let's say you're selling tickets for $20, right? That means you have $20,000 potential, right? If you sell out every ticket, you have $20,000 potential. Your artist should be, depending what kind of artist you're working with, right? And feel free to continue chiming in, like, because I may have some questions for more context. But is it like, are these local bands that you're trying to book, or are they national bands? So if it's local, right, then your artist budget could be a flat guarantee, right, where you're paying them $500 each, or maybe you incentivize them, right? You're paying them $500 each, and then they get a bonus if it sells out. Or you're bringing in like a national touring act, right? And even like national touring in your home country, right? If they're bigger national acts in India or wherever you're promoting, right? Whoever, like to speak to the whole audience, or if you're promoting in the US or in Europe or in South America, right? If they're a national touring act, guess about 50 to 60% of your potential, right? So that's your biggest expense is the band. So you're going to have $10,000 to $12,000 is going to be your artist. Then of that 20,000 potential, I like having at least 10% allocated towards marketing of your potential, right? So it'd be $2,000 towards marketing. And with marketing too, like really learn how to run ads and do the digital marketing, because marketing is one of those areas where you can just spend money and it goes nowhere, right? So make sure the marketing is actually working. Make sure you're looking at your cost per click and all that. But that's gonna be your next big expense. Hospitality, since you're in your situation dealing mostly with local bands, hospitality you can do minimal, right? So you can do maybe $100 or $200 in hospitality. Maybe like you're just providing drinks for your bands, or you want to do a little bit extra, right? Maybe provide some snacks and things like that to make them feel special. So maybe $100 or $200 there, and then a venue. So in the United States, the max I would pay for a venue. So I really broke this down. The rent at a 1,000 cap venue should be anywhere from $750 to $2,000 should be the rent. The security, if it's in addition to the rent, if you kind of want to just do some math, I think $25 per hour. They're all going to work about 6 hours each, so it's $150 per security guard. You're going to have one at the front door, at the back door, maybe two at the front door, right? There's three. You're going to have someone by stage. You're going to have someone floating around. And maybe there's another entry point, right? So maybe 6 security guards at 1,000. That's on the high side, right? I always budget on the high side, and then I kind of guess my revenue on the low side, right? So it's called sandbagging what I'm doing, and but that's kind of how you protect yourself, right? So let's say your security comes in at $750. That seems reasonable. Box office, you're gonna have a person selling the tickets. They're gonna work $20 an hour times 6 hours, so call it $120 for your ticketing person. And production, call it about $500 for your audio engineer and your lighting person, right? So those are kind of all your potential expenses for your event. The one thing I will say is, should never produce an event unless you have the money for it, right? So let's say your entire event will cost you $15,000. You should have $15,000 sitting in the bank before doing the event, right? So make sure you do that. But let's see, some more comments. Thanks for the additional context. You're aiming at big ones, okay? And then I'm worried about marketing. I have no online presence, and that's okay, right? So this is a good comment, right? You have no online presence when it comes to marketing, so that's okay. Here's how it would start. I would start smaller, right? Start in your 200 capacity venues if there is one in your area. Start with 200 capacity and learn how to promote shows there first. Like promoting shows is all about getting reps. Like get your reps in promoting shows. Start small, incentivize the bands, right? What you can do there, and that's kind of takes away the risk of a guarantee. I would book 2 to 4 local bands, have them sell tickets, and if you're doing it all online, there's multiple ticketing platforms. So I'm not endorsing one by saying, you know, platforms like Venue Pilot. There's many others, but Venue Pilot is a platform that you can use for ticketing. And what you want to look for is you want to look for a ticketing platform that either you can print physical tickets, or and then give those to the bands, or you can create a custom ticket link for each band, right? And then each band has their own unique link, and then they're using that link to promote the show. And that's how you know which band sold what, right? And the way, and there's a video I have on how to pay local bands, right? Like local band show splits. But what I would do is just have them work on a percentage from what they sell, right? So let's say you're giving each band 50% of what they sell, and that's how you pay your bands. And then you have no risk, right? Because you're not guaranteeing anyone money. You're giving them the ability to sell tickets, and you're giving them a commission off of what they sold. And that's it. And then from the other 50%, you're using that to pay for your expenses and, of course, make a profit. And the thing at a 200-person venue, your expenses are going to be minimal, right? You're going to have 1 or 2 security guards. You're going to have a ticketing person, maybe even could bring your own person to sell the tickets, which would be even more ideal. And you're going to pay for production, right? An audio engineer. And that's it. And you most likely are not going to have rent, right? Especially since venues are looking for promoters all the time. Like venues want promoters to come in and promote shows at their venue. So that's kind of where I would probably start. So hopefully that was helpful and answer your question. So do the festival later, do the 1,000 cap venue later, get some experience first doing a bunch of smaller events, because I started with the bigger event and it was extremely overwhelming. And knowing what I know today, starting smaller will be the way to go, and get some repetitions, do a few smaller events, get to know the bands, know which bands are worth tickets, right? Know which bands locally can sell tickets and have a following, and then work with those to put on your festival, on your bigger event. And then you start building your brand, right? So we're about the marketing. So going back to the marketing question, actually, when you're going to run ads, right? So learn how to run ads through the Meta platform. So not by hitting the boost button on Instagram or on Facebook or whatever, or TikTok, right? Don't hit the boost button. Go learn how to run ads through the back end. Like learn how to run ads through Meta Business Manager or through Google Ads, wherever, but learn how to run them through the back end, right? So it's not so much, promoting shows is not so much about how much of a following you have as a person or a promoter. It's more about learning how to run ads. And when you're running ads, use video content, like run ads using video of the artist, right? And live is usually best. Of course, make sure your video sounds good, but use music forward content for your ads, because especially at the local level, like you need to introduce people to that artist, right? So you need to introduce them to their music. So learn how to run ads using the music, directing that to buying tickets, learn how to use good captions. And then the next level of running ads is learn how to do retargeting, right? So one of the things I retarget a lot is if I have a Meta pixel, right? So these are all things you can look up, but if you have a Meta pixel on your ticketing page, now you can retarget clicks, right? So anyone that clicks on your ticketing link, you can now run ads if your pixel is there to retarget those clicks. You're gonna need at least 1,000 clicks, but when you're retargeting, show them a second video of that artist that you're promoting, right? A different video, and then now they've seen 2 videos. Now they become more familiar with the artist, and you're warming up the audience by showing them more content of the artist, and now they may be more likely to buy a ticket, especially if they watched majority of both videos, right? If you can't do the pixel, what else can you do? If you're going with video ads, you can also retarget views, right? So you can retarget 3-second views, 10-second views. You can retarget 25, 50, 75, 95, and 100% views, right? So learn how to retarget the views also. So another way to funnel, right, to do retargeting is run video ads, and then run a retargeting video with a different video, and now you're retargeting to 50 and 75% views. So learn how to do that, because that's not going to depend on how much of a following you have as an individual or how much of a following you have as a promoter. The one thing I'll say is the one thing that most promoters do wrong, right? So most of my students, they know who Live Nation is, and outside of that, maybe half of them know who AEG is, which is the second biggest concert promoter in the world. So for those of you that don't know who AEG is, learn like AEG Presents, learn who they are. So AEG Presents is your second biggest promoter in the world. And then learn the next 3-4 big promoters out there, right? Like know who Outback Concerts is, Nederlander, and so many, right? So big promoters. L&E in the United States, right? There's a lot of great big promoters out there. They're doing a lot of shows. So the problem is, right, with these promoters that you don't know these names is because the promoters don't do a good job promoting themselves, right? If promoting them, who they are, who their businesses, or they're not building a connection with their local community. So if you're a promoter, make sure you connect with your local community, partner with your local businesses, right, and collaborate with your local businesses to help you promote shows, but you also promote them, and do things for your local community, right, and almost become like if you're a promoter or a venue, you're a curator of culture for your local community, right? So learn how to create and build culture within your community and be the source of where people go to find out about shows. And then you also establish a following as a promoter, which kind of leads to your question you asked, right? So most promoters don't do it, which is why you don't have to be worried about the following you have. But if you learn how to run the ads and are able to build a following as a promoter, that's the magic formula, right? Another question. Let's see. If I'm doing a 200 cap venue, to take a prices will be lower, right? Yeah, to take a price will definitely be low. I mean, you can, so if you're 200 cap, I mean, you can charge more. All depends on what the market is able to support, right? Obviously, the bigger shows you're going to charge more, but maybe at a lower level, you're charging $10 per ticket, right? So now you have a 2,000 potential, or you're maybe charging 15, or you can do $10 in advance, $12 at the door, maybe it's 10 advance, 15 at the door. Always have a different advance price, like a lower advance price and a higher day of price, to push and incentivize those advanced sales. And if you're controlling the ticketing platform, if you're using something, again, not an endorsement of Venue Pilot, they're a great platform though. The reason I like them is their fees are super low, right? They're 75 cents a ticket versus some of these other platforms you've seen where it's anywhere from 10, 20, 30%. Now, I could go on a whole rant on ticketing fees if anyone is interested in that. But yeah, to answer that question, it'll be a lower ticket price, but you could probably push up to a $20 ticket for a local show. It all depends on what your market tends to do, right? Just look at other events in your market. Awesome questions. Thanks for sharing those questions. So if those answers were helpful. If anybody else has any questions, feel free to share. Otherwise, I'll keep going on the ones I prompted. But so a manager, right? Going back to that, you can manage any local band today, and again, ideally, go get some experience at a management company. But if you want to just get experience, you can't get a job right away. You can't find a job at a management company. You're in a location where they don't have management companies, then just to start working with local bands and get that book from Ari. It's a really great book. Ari doesn't endorse me. He's been a guest on the podcast a few times, but he wrote a really, really great book on how to make it in the music industry. Got another question. Let's take a look. Solo artists, how to convince a venue to hire you if you're not established in the local area yet. Great question. So real quick, if you're able to answer this, is this to play original music or is this to play covers? Like, are you playing original? You want to play original ticketed shows, or are you like looking to play the local brewery, coffee shop, wine bar to play like the 2-3 hour gigs? So let me know about that if you can't. But if until then, I'll answer as a headlining, like an artist that's selling tickets to your show, right? So you play both. Okay, cool. Thank you. So for an artist that's playing original gigs and you're selling tickets to your shows, I would start small, right? So, and I had another question prepared about like how to build a following and everything, but like online and everything. But like locally, what you should do is try to build a local following, go to shows, meet people, try to not play a lot, right? So if you're doing both, like the cover gigs and the original gigs, if there's a way to separate that as two different brands, that'd be ideal. Otherwise, if you can play those cover gigs without having to promote them, right? If the venues are not going to be upset with you, you have like a built-in crowd. You don't necessarily have to put it on your calendar. That'd be great, because it'll take away from your original gigs, right? From your ticketed shows. So ideally, there's a separate brand for each of them. If not, then that's okay, as long as you don't have to like promote the local gigs, right? Because you're probably doing those to make money and to make a living, which is understandable. The hard part with that is if you're playing 2-3 days a week to play those local cover gigs, right? It's going to take away from your ticketed shows if you have to promote those, unless you're really doing a good job branding that they're separate, right? This is my original show playing my original music, but then these are my cover gigs. You can do that too. But anyways, how do you get let's start with the ticketed shows. And that's kind of knowing what promoters are looking for, right? Promoters, the number one, and venues, the number one thing they want is they want people to show up, right? So it starts with that. If you don't have a following, it's going to be really hard to have the local venues or promoters book. So how do you start? I start small, right? So I would start either with a local, if you're asking like where are you based out of? That might help give you some more context. But if you have like a local coffee shop that does shows, right, that maybe holds 50 to 100 people, see if you can do a show there, right? Or find an alternative venue like an art gallery or something that's like a different kind of spot, right? And play small first, or even house shows, right? Playing at a person's house, playing a college fraternity or sorority, but start small. Get to a point where you can sell 40, 50 tickets, right, to a smaller show, and then work your way up from that, right? And it's better to play a venue that's too small and sell it out than play a venue that's too big and not sell it, right? So I have a rule, I call it the 50% rule. You should never play a venue unless you can sell at least 50% of the capacity of that venue, right? And when I was in New Orleans and Orlando, it was so appealing for artists to want to play House of Blues, right? Everyone wants to play the House of Blues, and it's cool, right? It's cool to put on your resume, but at the end of the day, it's not going to do anything for your career to play the House of Blues, right? Like no one's going to hire you or do shows with you because you played the House of Blues. They're going to hire you and do shows with you because you sold out the House of Blues, right? So I wouldn't play the cool venue in town until you can sell at least 50% of its capacity. So if the cool venue in your town is 1,000 capacity, it's not just all on you. You and the bands that are playing collectively, you should be able to sell at least 500 tickets, right? So that's the 50% rule. That's the bare minimum. I have the 80% rule, so I have 50, 80, and 100, right? So 80% rule is the I'll book you again rule, right? So if you can fill at least 80% of the capacity, they're going to book you again over and over and over again. And then the 100% rule is if you can sell out a venue, then they'll be actively calling you, right, to book the shows again, because that's what they're looking for. So start small, work your way up. And if you can go to a venue, right? So if you go into a 200 capacity venue in town and you say, hey, I played at the local coffee shop and I sold it out. So keep good track of your tour history for starters. And then just know who the other local bands are that you want to play with and do shows with, right? So that's kind of how it starts. When you're sending emails to these venues, keep it short. They just imagine, especially if they're doing touring shows, they're probably going to get hundreds of emails a day, right? From artists that are trying to book their venue. So how do you stand out? One, be honest, right? So don't go in there and say, I'm going to sell out your venue. That's if I got paid for every single time an artist told me they're going to sell out my venue, I would have made a lot of money. But go be honest. I played the local coffee shop. I sold 50 tickets, right? And I feel like it's a natural progression to now go to your venue and I will play with this and this local band. So bring the bands with you, right? So don't just ask the venue to put the lineup together. Bring them the lineup, make their job easier, right? So I'm an artist. I recently played the coffee shop, sold 50 tickets. I'm playing with these other two bands that also play locally recently. They sold this many tickets. We feel like this venue is the right fit for our next show, for our next step up, because we feel we can, based on past results, we can sell at least 50% of your capacity, right? So that's one thing you can do. There's many, many other things you can do. I talked earlier about the ads thing, right? Like learn how to run ads in your local community. So run ads locally with your music. Try to build a following with people in your community, right? So you don't have to run ads through the entire country or world. Start in your city, right? So because you're gonna have to build local first. So even with $5 a day, find one of your best videos. So if you go to your Instagram or TikTok account, look at which video has done the best, right? So let's say your average video, even on a lower level, right? Say your average video gets 100 to 200 views, right? But you have that one video that has 1,000 views, or maybe one video has maybe 2,000 views, right? Or let's say your average is 1,000 and you have that one video that has 10,000, right? Anything that's 5 to 10x more than your average, use that video as your lead magnet, and then learn how to run ads with that video through the back end, right? Through Meta Business Manager. Learn how to build an audience. If you know 100% for sure your audience is younger, on Meta, you can shut off like where your ads run. So that Meta is going to push you to use all their recommendations. You shut off all the recommendations. And what I always shut off is where my ad is shown, right? So it's going to show it on Instagram, Facebook, Messenger, and display network, right? So what I do, if I know my audience is on Instagram and that's where I want to build my audience, I'm going to run it only on Instagram. So I'll shut off the other 3. So run ads with your best video, $5 a day, $1 a day. I mean, ideally $5 a day as a minimum. So if we can afford to do 150 a month, run that and just leave it on. Like don't shut that off, right? And later on, right, so you can start doing retargeting and all kinds of other things with that video. But let's see. So leave that on, leave that running, and then start building a following in your local community online as well, digitally, right? And then now the next layer would be if you had a way to convert those people into an email list, right, or a texting list. There's a the classical platform is MailChimp, right? Not endorsement of any products. Nobody supports the Making It Academy yet, but there's a new platform that I am experimenting with. It's called Lalo, Laylo. But on Lalo, what you can do is you also collect their phone numbers, right? So a thing you could give away. You could either give away. I mean, you can try to do the free download thing and give out free music, or you can even do work tapes, right? So if you have a song that's already out or is about to come out, you can give them a 30-second snippet of the song, right? And call it like a work tape and call it like an early version. It doesn't have to be the first version, but maybe it's like one of your earlier versions of a song, and you're giving them like a behind the scenes look, right? So like, hey, I'm releasing a new single in 2 weeks. Join my texting list or my email list to get a work tape of the new single, so you can see how the song evolved, right, into what it is going to be when it comes out. So now you're building a texting list, email list. So now you can go to your venue, right? You can say, I sold 50 tickets at a coffee shop. I have 1,000 followers in my hometown that I've gained from running ads. I know how to run ads, and I will run ads for the show, right? So now they know you're going to promote, and I have 50 text message subscribers in the town, right? So basically bringing numbers to the venue, that's what they're going to look for. That's for your original shows. And then just going quickly to the cover shows, you're going to have to build a little bit of an EPK, like an EPK like landing page of places you've played, the types of covers you've played, the range or the genres of covers that you play, with a couple of samples, right? I have a couple of sample videos of you playing live. An ideal world, you put together like a little trailer that's maybe a 1 minute, a minute and a half trailer that has different songs you've played, right? That shows like the different variety and range, and just have like quick 15 to 20 second clips of a bunch of songs that you've played, and put that in a trailer. And I have that on that page, send that to venues where I can send them the trailer plus the landing page of where you played, maybe like a song list. And then it's just gonna be a lot of networking, finding out who are the people in your town that booked those. The best way to start is ask the other musicians. Sometimes they're going to get very protective over sharing that information. So just network with the musicians and figure out like how they got those gigs. Did they book them through the venue directly? Did they book them through a local agent? Did they book them through like sometimes there's other artists that will book all those cover gigs for multiple artists. So that's where I would start. So hopefully that was helpful, and hopefully that answered your question. Let me know if you have a follow up to that. Let me see. Let's see. Another question. Going back to festivals. I have a plan. Booking a band called Bollywood. Okay, so I'm looking to book a metal band in India. And then promote the festival and gather up ticket sales, maybe run it early. We can do also, there's that platform Lalo that I mentioned, right? You can, the great thing about Lalo, so like there's a lot of bands that use it. There's one artist specifically called Red Leather that's using it right now, and it's you could create demand right before you even do it, right? So what you could do is you could maybe run an ad in your hometown, right? Go grab a short video from that band, run a ad for $10, $15 as a small ad, and just ask, do you want to see this band come play my hometown, right? Or list the town, right? So you would say, so the ad would probably start your city name, right, or your town's name, and then say, would you like to see this band or bands like this come to our town? And then RSVP to be the first to find out when they come, right? So what you can do now, you can actually build a demand before you go on sale, right? Before you even book the band. So now you can go build a text list, build an email list through a platform like Lalo. Again, not endorsing any platform. There's multiple platforms, but Lalo is one you could use, and then build a list up, build a demand, and then now you can go to that band and say, hey, I ran a small ad to see how many people are interested in coming to see you play here. And you can say, I have 200 people, 300 people, whatever, on my list. I'd love to book you. Now you go to your venue, you have 200-300 people on your list, and then now they'll be the first to find out. Right now, you email that entire list first, and they're the first to find out about the show coming up. So that's probably what I would do. If I were you, that might be a great way to start. Cool, sounds good. Keep me posted. Feel free to send me a message. I'm on Instagram. I mean, of course, I'm always promoting, right? So if you guys are interested, I do have a Patreon where we workshop this stuff. So the Making Academy is on Patreon. If y'all are interested in joining, no pressure at all. I'm doing this because I love teaching, right? But obviously, I'm trying to build a Making It Academy as well. And we're launching a certificate how to produce concerts. So if you're interested, join the Making It Academy. We workshop at least twice a month. I've been doing it weekly lately, but all the archives of past videos are there on Patreon. The live workshops, we actually pull up offers, contracts, expenses, tour plans, marketing plans. We go into the back end of Meta right now, show people like actually how to build and run the ads. So no pressure, but if anyone's interested in joining on Patreon, that's the link right there. So patreon.com/Making It Academy. Does anybody else have any other questions? If not, I have one more I prepared for artists. Be super helpful. How do I book a tour without an agent? But this other one is I call it the cookie cutter, right? So like, what should you do when you're an artist, right? So when you're first starting out, like, how do you build a following? And maybe I'll elaborate more on this next week, right? So maybe we'll give the preview to the cookie cutter, but I need to jump in about 8 minutes. But preview of the cookie cutter is the reason I call it a cookie cutter, right? Because like every artist is different, and every artist should be promoted uniquely, differently, and they should be doing different things, right? However, there's a few things everyone should be, right? So it's the cookie cutter with the magic ingredient. So the magic ingredient is super simple. You have to have great songs and play them great live. That is it. Good songs, play them good live, right? That's the magic ingredient, right? Or the key ingredient. So have that. If you may not have that yet, then write as many songs as you can. Keep writing, right? If you're a musician and you've written 1 or 2 songs over the past year, that's not enough. You should be writing maybe at least 1 or 2 songs a month, right? But ideally, you should be writing every day, and you get a little bit of practice writing every day. Or if you need a break, right, do 5 days a week. But write as often as possible. It doesn't have to be complete songs. It could be parts of songs. It could be melodies. It could be a couple of lyrics, right? It could be ideas. Write something though as often as you can, and then try to develop as many songs obviously as you can. And then so write, and the more you write, the better you're going to get, right? Writing is like a muscle. It is something you can train. So the more you can write, the better of a writer you become. Write with other artists at your level, and work with them to become a better writer and to learn how other people write, and then learn how to play them live, right? Learn how to become a good live performer, right? So that's the key ingredient to the cookie cutter. So now the cookie cutter is, and the reason I call it cookie cutter, these are some basic things every artist should do today. So 1, post as much content as possible, right? So ideally 4 or 5 days a week, like that's like the bare minimum, but if you can, daily, right? Post, and that's for TikTok and YouTube Shorts, right? So TikTok and YouTube Shorts, post every day. I mean, you can abuse those platforms, post twice a day, right? Post fun little videos of you like showing your personality, right? Whether it's I don't know, but you're into nature or working out or whatever, and you're showing clips of that and then putting your music on top, right? Like show what it is you do in your average every day, or show a fun side of your personality and just put your music on top. And do that with a mixture of acoustic videos, right? Or you do like perform your songs live. And the music that you put on top, right? If you have a single out, put that same song over and over and over and over again, right? Every single day. Now change it up, right? Don't do only that song. So change it up. And pull up an article real quick. I have an article I recently wrote where there's a bunch of examples, right? So I'll drop that in the chat. I think I'm able to post too. All right, so see if everybody can see that. So that's that article. Check that out. It's basically case studies, a bunch of artists, right? So there's one artist on here, Transviolet, right? They had a massive growth on their YouTube monthly listeners. So they went from 240,000 to 300,000 monthly listeners in just a few months. But as I was doing this case study, I just found crazier and crazier ones, right? So there's this girl Lowen that's on here. She had 113% growth. She went from 20,000 monthly listeners to 50,000 monthly listeners. Another one, Julia Wolf, she had a 424% increase, going from 228,000 to 1.1 million, almost 1.2 million. And then I added some bonus ones, right? So there's an artist called Somber, obviously it's massive, but 1,300% growth on his monthly listeners. He's now at 18 million. There's an artist named Key Nola that I started kind of paying attention to out of New Orleans. He grew his channel from 35 to 848, and now he's even at over 1 million monthly listeners. And what these artists did, another big one that does this is Max McNown as another artist. What they do, if you look at their TikToks and YouTube Shorts and Instagrams, they just post very, very consistent, right? Like over and over and over again. And look at those artists like that as just inspiration for you, what you could do, but post as consistently as possible. Experiment, find your personality, right? Find you, and then obviously always use your original sound. That is like you always use the same original sound. So there's more and more uses of the original sound. And then Instagram, like if you want to show a little bit more of like the artsy side, right, and be a little more selective in what you show there, that's fine too. But post as often as possible for one. Get to a point where, so this cookie cutter, right? Step one of cookie cutter is post as often as possible. Step two, find a lead magnet, right? So we talked about that earlier. Find a video that does 5 to 10x more than all your other videos, the average, right? So it's not about find 10,000, 100,000 listeners or views on a video. Just find 5 to 10 times more what your average is. So if your average is 100, then find a video that's 500 to 1,000. If your average is 500, find one that's 2,500 to 5,000, right? But 5 to 10 times more than your average. Use that as your lead magnet. Start running ads, evergreen ads. They are always on, never stop, until you find a better and new lead magnet, right? That's step two. Learn how to do retargeting is step three. And then once you're at step two, though, start doing long form video on YouTube. And I would start there, right? That's the cookie cutter. That's the basic things every artist should be doing. And then build a list, build an email list, build a texting list using platforms like Lalo. But that's where you start, right? So that's the cookie cutter. That's the bare minimum. And we can go deeper into the cookie cutter next week. If y'all are interested, I can do another one of these lives next week. Before I jump off, looks like another question came in. Let me see. I saw one of your videos on negotiating with 1,000 and below capacity venues. I've been reaching out to venues, and the lowest quote I've gotten is about $370 per head, with the average being around $5. That's a lot expensive. So let me just run some math real quick. If you don't mind me asking, what area of town or what city are you located in? Could play a factor. Like if you're like in a major city, like in New York, LA, or something like that, it's going to be more expensive. So on the low side, you're at $3,700 for the venue. Is that all in? Like, is that $3,700 all in, including security, sound, and all that, or is that $3,700 rent plus security, sound, and all that? And then 5 to 6 is the average. So 5 to 6,000. It's pretty high on 1,000 and below. Philadelphia, okay. I mean, it's going to be on the higher side in Philly, but I feel like Philly has definitely venues around. There's a platform I use, or a website I use a lot, jambase.com. I don't know if you're familiar with Jambase, but I'll drop that in the chat. If you go to Jambase, you can find like all the venues in your area, and you can like go find the capacities, right? So if you click on the venue, so just if I go to Philadelphia on Jambase, Um, and of course, like stay away from like the Fillmore. So many Live Nation, it's gonna be way more expensive to go to the Fillmore. You see World Cafe Alive, the Lounge. It's a 200 cap venue, right? So and also, are you looking to promote shows, or are you looking to play as an artist? They even ask bar guarantees. Yeah. I mean, I would just say keep looking for now. If you're an artist, the venue should be paying you, right? Or at least give you a percentage of doors, or you can promote shows. So if you're looking to promote shows, I'd have a lot more questions for you. But the first question I would have is like, have you promoted shows, and then what capacity have you promoted shows, right? If you haven't, I would start smaller first, like start at your 200 to 400 cap venues. The bigger venues are always going to be more expensive, especially if they're doing touring shows already, right? So try to also stay clear from venues that are already doing touring shows, because they want to book their own shows, right? I mean, that's what their job is. Their job is to book shows. So either start smaller or find a venue that doesn't do a lot of touring shows. And depends on genre too. So like old school hip hop is in your name. Cool. You start at 100 to 200 cap venues. Awesome. So you're looking to go bigger. Is that what is you're trying to do? So yeah, for starters, you have to establish yourself as a promoter, right? Sometimes the smaller venues will also have bigger venues they go into. The thing that just sucks, right? Like if you go into a venue that does touring shows and is a busy venue, you're in competition with them essentially, right? And that's why they're kind of charging you more. Another thing you could do, if it is a venue that doesn't do a lot of touring shows, or you see they work with outside promoters, right? There's other promoters that do shows there. I know everyone wants to have a Friday, Saturday, or a Thursday. Just try an off night, right? Say you'll do a Tuesday or a Wednesday, or maybe a Sunday, right? So try to do a night that they're not necessarily trying to book, or don't have a lot of shows, or it's not as popular of a night. Do that as a way to get in, and then once you're in, do a great job promoting the show, getting people out to the show, and just establishing a relationship with the venue. The fees will drop eventually. I promise that. And it depends on what the breakdown is, right? Like I definitely have like a whole lot more questions. Like, is that a flat fee, or is that a plus security and door? Did they give you a breakdown of each line item? Let me see. I say I started a smaller market, so I can learn. Okay, so you learn a promoting game. So it sounds like you got experience. You've done smaller shows, even in a smaller market, and now you're just trying to jump up to the next level. And yeah, the higher level you jump, the more competitive it's going to be, right? Now you're competing potentially with the venues you're going into. So either find venues that don't do as many touring shows, do an off night, or find an alternative venue that you can go into, and try, if you can, go meet the venue, right? Just like ask them if you can get on a call with them, go try to meet them in person. And it's just a networking side, right? And make sure they know your history and experience as a promoter. Like you're not just like some random person coming off the street that's trying to promote their first ever show. So make sure they have know some of the history, especially like your sellouts. Showcase your sellouts of shows you've done. Showcase like what agencies you've worked with. So if you've worked with the big agencies, mention that, right? Like say you've worked with CAA, William Morris, UTA, Wasserman, whoever. Flat fees. Sometimes they're asking for ticket fees too. Dang, man. Yeah, it's so hard when you go to the bigger venues, right? Because they want a fee from the ticket. Because like the other thing is you as a promoter, right? So one of the things I teach my promoters a lot, you want to have other revenue streams, right? So I'm assuming they're going to try to control the ticketing. If you can control the ticketing, great. Another thing you can do too to help offset some of these costs, especially as you're trying to first jump, is if you're doing shows already. So I have a really great promoter that works with us, or is one of the students in the Making Academy. He does a series, right? So he has a liquor sponsor, and they sponsor a series of events, right? And that's how sponsorships work the best. So for sponsorships, it's hard to get a sponsor for one-off event, but if you're doing 5-10 shows and you're giving the sponsor, hey, I'm gonna give me X amount per show, and this will be good for 5-10 shows, right? $500 a show, $1,000 a show, right? Whatever it is. But they give you a flat amount per show. That'll help you offset some of the costs. And then and then book it as a series, right? And we can go a whole lot deeper into sponsorships. But then the other thing you can do as well, see if the venue will give you some consignment tickets, right? So let's say they do control the ticketing. Ask them for 50 tickets that you can sell on consignment, and then just sell them either through your own ticketing platform, a platform like Venue Pilot, and add your own fee on that, or just sell them hand to hand, right? And add an extra $5 or so to that. So that's where you can offset some of the costs. But yeah, I think in the beginning, when we first jumping to the bigger venues, it's about offsetting some of those costs through sponsorships, through being able to sell some of your own tickets, and establishing that relationship. Right, it just sucks when you start going to that 1,000 cap venue range. It's all about building relationships, showing them that you can do it. Or the other thing I'll throw in, I'm kind of just freestyle, but the other thing you can do too is you can negotiate. Okay, we'll pay this, but if we sell 80% of the capacity, it drops to this. If we sell out, it drops to this, right? So maybe there is a reversion where the cost becomes lower the more tickets you sell, because they're gonna make more money at the bar, right? So that's, especially their controlled ticketing, they're gonna make money at the bar, and they're gonna make money off the fees, right? The fees that they add to the ticket. So try to negotiate that. That could be another thing you could do. Offset costs, do an off night, go to a venue that's not doing as many touring shows. Right? So hopefully those are some different ideas without like actually talking to you, getting more context. Like hopefully those are some ideas that might help. Cool. Been selling tickets on your own platform. Awesome. Good. Let me see. To add talking points, old school question. You can find insane artists who, yeah, and you can find an artist that doesn't charge as much either, right? So hopefully that was helpful, right? And also your deal making, right? Your deal making with artists, just get more creative with that. Like if you're dealing with the bigger agencies, again, you have competition on both sides. You have competition with the venues that are already trying to do shows as well. Plus, especially in a market like Philly, you have competition with other promoters that are doing the shows. But I think I would start with those. Feel free to reach out if you want to hit me up on Instagram. If you don't have it, let me drop the Instagram on the chat real quick. Feel free to send me a DM if you want to send me more context. We can happy to chat more. What is my Instagram? Is it with? There it is. So it's making it with Chris G. It's all consistent. So I'll drop that in there. And this was fun. I'm gonna sign off, but thank y'all for joining this first coffee chat. There's more people that showed up than I thought. So thank y'all. If you want to learn more and you want to dive deeper into some of the stuff and join the workshops where I'm pulling up the screen and we're building ads, I'm showing promoters how to build ads and tap into a cool network of promoters. So the Making Academy, I've been doing that since COVID. And it's kind of like when I started this, and I have promoters now from in Houston and in Dallas, on the West Coast, in the Northeast. There's promoters from all over the countries that are part of the Making It Academy learning. And not only are they learning from me, but they're learning from each other, right? They're collaborating with each other on these calls. So if you want to learn more on that, it's also for artists, right? So I teach artists. It's all focused on touring and the live side of things. Even though I can go into music promotion, since that's what I'm doing these days, is the artist management side. But if you want to learn how to book a tour, learn about deals, you have a contract, you want to look at a contract. We never do, like I try to never drop names in the Patreon. But if you want to join these live workshops, I do them at least twice a month. We've been doing them every week. Love to have y'all there. So check that out. And thanks for watching this first coffee chat. We'll do it again next week. Next week, Wednesday, 8 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Eastern. So we'll see you there. Feel free to reach out on Instagram. And thank you all for tuning in, for all the great questions too. Really appreciate all the great questions. And until next time.